Welcome back. It's Seth here. Today, I'd like to discuss something that's quite devastating, and I don't think it's getting enough media coverage. That is, that there was a pretty significant report that was released by Policy Horizon Canada. This is a strategic forefront organization within the federal government and uses foresight to help the Canadian government build stronger policies and programs in the face of an uncertain future. And how do I put this to you? The report that was released was absolutely gut-wrenching for every Canadian and everyone who wants to be a Canadian. What the report overall is stating is that by 2040, Canada will become a country where social mobility will be impossible. By 2040, it will become a lot harder for Canadians to build a better future, and we're likely to see more Canadians become poorer and poorer. The report goes on to highlight 6 areas on how Canada will become unrecognizable by 2040. But before I dive deeper into this report, please hit the like button down below, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to help grow our channel. Now that you hit the like button, let's dive in. So the first change that we'll see in Canada by 2040 is that pursuing a post-secondary education is no longer considered a reliable path for social mobility. The report goes on to say that fewer and fewer individuals will attend post-secondary education. As the tuition costs would be only affordable for the wealthy, the programs are expected to have a long timeline, so increasing opportunity costs. A lot of the programs are going to be inflexible, meaning that they won't be able to evolve for the skills that are demanded by the job market. So after reading this part of the report, I wanted to see what the current trends are. Currently, we're seeing a huge increase in post-secondary education attendance, but this is mostly driven by international students. From 2009 to 2018, international students' enrollment for universities went from 8.2% to all the way to 14.7%. And for colleges, the enrollment went from 5.2% all the way up to 13.2%. And these are international students that are coming from various countries, such as France, India, China, and the United States. So now I wanted to see what the trends were for domestic students. And I'll be very honest with you, I was quite surprised. The data I was able to find was from 2015 to 2022. So it wasn't the exact same, but we'll get a good idea of the trend that we're seeing. From the chart, we can see that there has been an increase in the enrollment of domestic students in universities, but only by 2.7%. And for colleges, the enrollment is already down by 6.7%. So from the current trends, we're already seeing that domestic students are not enrolling in college as much as they used to. And the increase in university isn't significant either. And as time passes and these trends get stronger and stronger, by 2040, there might not be a lot of domestic students that attend these universities and colleges. The second way Canada will change by 2040 is that owning a home will not be a realistic goal. The report goes on to say that most Canadians will not own a home by 2040. The ones that will have ownership will have intergenerational mortgages, or several generations will live under one roof. And it will be found that those individuals that are homeowners are more likely to also have rental properties. These individuals are more likely to be against the idea of increasing housing supply and freezing rents. You will see the inequality in between people that rent versus the people that will own properties. So after reading this, I went and looked at the current trends. What I found was that in 2014, the median age of a first-time home buyer was 36. But within 5 years, this median age increased to 38. And by 2024, that median age has increased to 40. Also, I found a chart presented by the Canadian Real Estate Association. This chart shows that the average price of a home in Canada in April of 2015 was $416,000. Now, fast forward to March 2025, that price has increased to $716,000. And if you're looking to purchase a home anywhere in the Greater Toronto Area or Vancouver, that price is probably going to be closer to $1.1 million. So if we look at the average price of a Canadian home, the price has increased by 96% since 2015. I can guarantee you one thing, that your wages have probably not increased by 69%. And if they have, consider yourself very lucky. So from this trend, if the housing prices keep increasing, the median age of a first-time home buyer will only increase as well. The third way you'll see Canada change by 2040 is that people see inheritance as the only reliable way to get ahead. The report goes on to talk about how wealth and status will be passed down from generation to generation, especially owning properties that will divide the have and have-nots. Again, there's a really big indicator in the report that individuals that own properties will be considered way ahead versus anyone that doesn't own any properties. And if we look at the current trend, it is reported that 31% of first-time home buyers get help from their parents or other family members to purchase their first property. And the average amount these individuals are getting is $115,000. Home buyers are relying on this wealth transfer from their parents to purchase their first home, and this is starting to become the norm. So if it wasn't for parents and their family members helping these individuals purchase their first home, that median age that we just talked about, that have 40 years in 2024, would be a lot higher already. The fourth way Canada is going to change by 2040 is that people rarely mix with others of different socioeconomic status. This is an interesting change, and I wasn't expecting to see this. The report goes on to say that it will be very hard for individuals to meet other people from different backgrounds, meaning it'd be very difficult for individuals to move up in this world by making social connections for long-term romantic relationships, job opportunities, or even business opportunities. So what I understood from this part of the report is that the individuals you can reach out to now will not be available to you in the future. I could see a scenario in the future where this could happen. From my personal experience, I went to business school, and in business school, we're taught to network as much as possible to build connections, and these connections could lead you to high-paying jobs. So in the future, if there aren't that many high-paying jobs, we'll most likely see these jobs go to partners or other high-up executives' children, as they already have built a good connection with individuals within that community, or it'll be given to other wealthy individuals to potentially make more connections to grow their business. So that individual that isn't wealthy and has no connections will have a lot harder time working ground up. The fifth change that you'll see in Canada by 2040 is that aspirations for social mobility among youth are at odds with expectations of immobility. The report goes to talk about how advertising and marketing will keep selling the dream that one needs to get wealthy and climb the social ladder, when in reality, it won't be possible for most individuals. What this will result in is that most individuals will just give up before they even try. And from my personal experience, I think this is something that most individuals are already struggling with. And even sometimes myself, I struggle with this as well. Sometimes it does become difficult to think that you'll be wealthy when you see all these young individuals flexing their nice cars and watches. And making you feel like you'll never get there, especially as fast as they have. Something that I think most individuals can relate to in Canada is the idea of home ownership. And like I talked earlier in the report, by 2040, most people will not own a home. And it seems like almost half of Canadians have already given up on this idea of even owning a home in 2025. It is being reported that nearly half, 48%, of non-homeowners surveyed don't see themselves ever owning a home. So if young Canadians have already given up on the idea of owning a home, this doesn't make our future look bright at all. The sixth way that Canada will change by 2040 is that the value of human labor will have shrunken because of AI. The report goes and talks about how work in creative and knowledge fields will be less, as AI will be able to complete most tasks. It is being said that most individuals will rely on some gig work or side hustle to meet their basic needs. In result, people will have less capital to start businesses, and it's expected that the best AI will be out of reach for most individuals. Only the wealthy will own the best AI, thus enforcing the idea again that the wealthy will own most of the scarce resources. So for this, I couldn't really find an exact number of how many jobs have been lost by AI already, but I did find that it's reported that 31% of Canadian workers' jobs are at risk because of AI disruption. If this report is true, we'll definitely see some job loss because of AI advancement. So those were the top 6 key areas that we'll see changes in Canada. But there were also other notes that were made in the report that kind of caught my attention. The first note that caught my attention was that the Canadian economy will either shrink or become unpredictable in the future. We are likely to see wealth being controlled by a smaller population that will be extremely wealthy. In turn, we'll see more trade unions gain more power, as workers will be more frustrated with their current circumstances. People's mental health may also suffer, as most individuals will not have enough money to afford their groceries, rent, and their bills. Thus, you'll see a greater demand for social services. Canada will become less of an attractive place for migrants, as Canada will be seen a country where it's impossible to move up. And you'll see more Canadians and immigrants that will want to leave Canada and go to other countries where you are able to get wealthier. The report also says that people will blame immigrants or other identifiable groups for these economic issues. So scapegoating will become quite common, and this will generate more social and political conflicts. And the last point that the report makes, which I thought was quite crazy, is that Canadians will hunt, fish, and forage on public land without any reference to regulations. The government will most likely be seen irrelevant, as they can't even help most individuals meet their basic needs. So overall, this report is very heavy and paints a very negative picture of Canada in the future. And if nothing is done today, this might as well be the future of Canada. But I don't want to fearmonger. There are things that we can do to avoid the situation. So for post-secondary education and AI impact on labor, I would still say it's beneficial to go get your post-secondary education. But I would go where there's demand for work and AI is less likely to replace you. So something that I would think is that I would tell most individuals to go into trades. CNBC has reported that there is a shortage of skilled tradespeople has been developing for years. About 700,000 of the 4 million Canadians who work in the trades are set to retire by the end of the decade. So if you go to trade school, there's a very good chance that when you graduate, you will land a job and you'll be paid well. And as trade is more hands-on work, AI will most likely not totally replace you. AI will probably just enhance your work. But a lot of jobs in the accounting industry, finance, and healthcare will probably get replaced as AI will be smarter and can do tasks much faster than humans. So it is crucial to see where there's demand for work and go get educated in that field. Now, if I look at the reliance on inheritance, the issue with this idea is that most individuals start to eye inheritance at a young age, especially if they know they're going to receive a lot of wealth through this inheritance. This tends to make people work less harder for themselves as they know that they can fall back on something. And this is coming from my personal experience of individuals that I know. There are individuals that could probably make a lot more money for what they're doing, but they're not willing to put in that work because they know that their family has a large portfolio of real estate or stocks. That kind of reminds me of the clip from the Dave Ramsey show.
And so you haven't told anyone, and I've got some guesses, but why?
Well, the first thing I did when I found out that I won was research. And it said, that you get to read all those 1 in 5 people lose their lottery winnings or go bankrupt within 10 years. And one of the things they all said was, you tell too many people and you get too many people at your door asking for this, that, and the other thing, asking for handouts and expecting you to pay for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife and I made a conscious decision just to kind of keep it under wraps.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't even told our 2 teenage children.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know that sounds strange, but we just don't want them to grow up to be waiters, waiting for us to die so they can get our money.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Regardless of the inheritance, you should be working hard to create your own wealth. And over time, this inheritance will run out, as some people will splurge on this inheritance, and the inheritance will get split among several siblings. And this will result in your future generation becoming more poor than you were. So if you're someone that is going to receive inheritance, consider yourself lucky and consider it as a bonus. Go out there, work hard for yourself, and make your own wealth first. And now looking at the possibility of never owning a home and the aspiration of the impact of social mobility. These go hand in hand, as most likely if you don't own your own property, you probably feel like you're never going to be wealthy. However, I do have some good news for you. If you've been following the recent elections, Prime Minister Carney has made some big promises to help young Canadians purchase their first home. Prime Minister Carney has promised to cut GST on new homes valued under $1 million for first-time home buyers, and has promised to provide $25 billion in loans and $1 billion in equity financing for companies that largely build homes in factories rather than on construction sites. So there's a huge emphasis on this new Canadian government to make fabricated homes, and they're aiming to build 500,000 homes each year, doubling the initial goal of 250,000 homes. So in the coming years, what you're most likely to see is that the supply of homes will increase, thus reducing demand and overall reducing the prices of homes. And the goal of prefabricated homes is most of the parts of the home will be built within a factory. So they are shipped out to the site and set up, thus being more efficient and reducing costs. So in the coming months, we're likely to see this Liberal government make this push so these homes can be built as soon as possible. So overall, this report by Policy Horizon Canada is quite devastating. And if nothing is done, then yeah, there's a very good chance Canada will end up like that by 2040. However, we can make these changes now so that we don't end up in this position. On this channel, we are focused on a long-term vision. So if you're someone who's trying their best, spending less money than they're making, you will get there. Don't worry, just hang on. And if you want more financial tips on how to become wealthy, please check out the other videos on my channel and stay tuned for future videos. So now until next time, remember to keep investing.